It's a pleasure to be here. Everyone, just thank you for being here. This is our first webinar in a series of webinars which will explore Albanian excellence through different themes and lenses. Our first webinar was titled Albanian Excellence, What is it? How do we embody it? And why does it matter? Before we let our Dr. Kapllani do his opening remarks, I want to discuss a little bit about our organization. First of all, thank you for being here, and I'm very honored to be here with Dafina. My name is Ray. I serve as the Vice President and the lead for the College Mentorship Initiative. It's truly an honor to be here in the presence of our amazing guest speakers today, but also all of you in attendance. And this conversation is very important for our organization. So Dafina, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, my name is Zafina. I'm born and raised in San Diego. My parents are from Kosovo and I studied bioengineering. I'm the engineering lead for the webinar team, and I'm really excited to be a part of the first webinar and to get this rolling. So thank you all for being here. Really excited for the conversation.
Right. And then before we begin, I would like to introduce everyone to the organization behind the webinar. So we are SAPS, which stands for Shoqata, Akademike and Profesionale Shqiptare. Our mission is to foster academic excellence and professional development to Albanian students here in the US and the diaspora. And we do it through two initiatives: our high school mentorship initiative, which pairs high school students with college students and help them out with the college application process. We also do it through our college mentorship initiatives, which aims to connect college students with professionals and guide them in their career journey. So our mission is to guide students through high school, and we did that last year through our high school mentorship initiative, which offered personalized mentorship, comprehensive guidance, and community building. We had mentees from 11 US states, which represented 21 US high schools, as well as around 9 high schools in Albania and Kosovo. We also had around 40 mentors from the United States that represented 33 US institutions. To expand our mission, after our in-person event in Washington, D.C., one of the questions that we wanted to answer was, how can we bridge the gap between students and professionals within the community? And we did so, or we thought about doing so, through our college mentorship initiative. And in its core, our college mentorship initiative has our webinar series. This webinar series aims to create a space for our community to come together and engage in meaningful discussions and learn from one another. As I mentioned before, our programs are designed to support Albanians at any stage in their career. And this webinar series is an extension of that mission or that vision. We aim to offer a platform to spotlight voices across various disciplines. We want to also challenge traditional narratives and explore deeper meanings of success and identity within our Albanian diaspora.
Yes, thank you. So our established webinar team is filled with new and pre-existing SAPS members. They were all interested in organizing and building this initiative from the ground up as mentors. We have leadership from across various industries that cover medicine, policy, and engineering, which is all some of the biggest industries that probably exist in America. So huge thank you to Ademe, Eralda, Irena, Diana, as well as Clea and Jenny for helping out with their time, their energy to facilitate direct mentorship opportunities, which is so crucial to this organization. And we're so excited to experience their upcoming webinars, which are going to be really interesting. And as a team, we chose our first webinar to cover the main theme behind this community of professional Albanians, from academic sphere to industry spaces, this concept of Albanian excellence. And everyone in this room might have different perspectives on what that looks like. And maybe some of you never heard of that term before and you're unfamiliar with this concept.
Thank you, Dafina. And then as we explore these themes, I believe it's only fitting that we begin this conversation with someone whose work speaks directly to these complexities of identity, migration, and cultural belonging. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you today Dr. Gazmend Kapllani, the Director of Albanian Studies at DePaul University and author of several novels, including A Short Border Handbook and Wrongland. Dr. Kapllani's work not only illuminates the immigrant experience, but he also challenges us to rethink borders both in the literal and metaphorical sense. He will be speaking today primarily about the Albanian Studies program at DePaul University, sharing some of his insight into its mission and how it contributes to a broader understanding of the Albanian culture. Dr. Kapllani, I'll give this to you. You're a brilliant storyteller and a very powerful advocate of our richness as Albanians in the community. It is my pleasure to be able to connect with you, but also provide a platform for you to share your work, your amazing work that you've been done at DePaul University through your program. So without further ado, I want to give you, the floor, and then once you have your opening remarks, we'll follow up to open this discussion. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dafina and Ray. So I had a meeting with you both a few days ago where you spoke to me about your organization and about the event that you are organizing now, and as someone who works with the Albanian American young generation, I find your enthusiasm, I find your ideas really brilliant. And I think that in the Albanian American community, we need to support more the young generation of Albanian Americans. We need to support them, to help them to gain more visibility, to get more courage, to create ideas and promote their ideas. So I am really grateful and honored. I didn't come here because I was expecting for crowds to come, but I came here because I like your ideas, and also because of what I said, we need to support our young generation of Albanian Americans, because that's the future. You are the future. So before saying a few words about the Albanian American studies, I want to give an example of excellency and Albanian excellence by saying, first of all, that I belong to a generation of Albanians who grew up without political freedom, that is, without the possibility to speak, to think, and move freely. That's why in my book, Teaching and Personal Life, I speak a lot about the significance of politics in our lives and the importance of political freedom as a precondition for a decent and creative life. Oppressive regimes inflict terrible wounds, moral and economic, to the societies and to the countries that they oppress. And they leave behind ruins and poverty and moral decay, traumas that get generations to heal. And we Albanians know from firsthand this kind of wounds, as we have endured the frightening, I would say, consequences of political oppression in Albania during the Cold War, during communism, and also Albanians who lived in other Balkan countries experienced maybe other ways of oppressions, wars and ethnic cleansing, as is the case of Kosovo. That's why we must study carefully our past, understand it, process it, and draw lessons from it for our present and future. Now, as you said, another major reality and topic in my everyday and intellectual life is that of migration. I don't exaggerate saying that I belong to a generation of Albanians who have made migration their homeland. And after many years of total isolation of Albania from the rest of the world, almost half a century, the Albanians of my generation migrated massively. Many of them came here to the United States. For us, migration was not only a way to flee poverty, but also to return to the world, to the normal world, like many people of my generation in Eastern Europe did. And this was not the first time, of course, that Albanians migrated, but we had been kind of disconnected almost totally from the previous experience of Albanian migration. Now, migration, as you would know, or your parents maybe know better, comes with a set of huge challenges and difficulties. I have written extensively about migration, and I could talk for hours, but there is a condition to say that defines migration, and that's the condition of starting everything from scratch, starting your life anew, building everything from ground zero, and often under very harsh conditions and non-advantageous conditions. This is very challenging. It requires a lot of guts and resilience and nerves and a lot of work and the ability to adjust to a condition of eternal transition and to adjust creatively to new environments, learning the language, the culture, the laws, the mentality of a new place while maintaining a strong sense of your identity and a strong sense of self-respect. And I think that's what many Albanian migrants have done in this last 30, 40 years. And as you are discussing about Albanian excellency, for me, this must be a definition of excellency. The ability and the courage to build your life from scratch and to adjust creatively to new environments while maintaining a strong sense of self-respect. I believe that your migrant parents deserve that badge of honor of excellency. I know many parents that deserve, and I'm sure that your parents or many of your parents of you, they deserve that badge of honor. Now, when we speak about excellency, we usually have in mind some people who might serve us as role models. And I want to speak about one of them. Now that I'm speaking from Chicago, close to DePaul University, where I direct the first program of Albanian studies in the history of American academia. And that program would have never been possible without the major contribution of an extraordinary personality of our Albanian American community. His name is Hidai Edi Brego, and the program, our program, carries his name. Who was Hidai Edi Brego? He was a refugee of the Cold War who came in America around the 1950s and never saw his parents again alive. In fact, he saw Albania again after 40 years, in 1991, after the collapse of communism. He was a cultivated person, proud of his Albanian identity, and at the same time, a person with a brilliant, creative, and open mind. He worked very hard here in the US. He made America his own country, and he left an important legacy, an outstanding legacy. He left an important amount of his hard-earned wealth for the creation of the first program of Albanian studies at DePaul University in Chicago. Hidai Edi Brego was a visionary man who believed in the emancipatory power of education. He believed that it was necessary to have a program of Albanian studies at a high academic level because, besides many other things, such a program would give Albanian Americans cultural self-confidence and self-respect that are so necessary for a community that is rebuilding a new identity in a new country. And he knew also that, and you should know, I think, and we might discuss about it, that the United States traditionally have been the major intellectual center for Albanians in the diaspora. And I think that he wanted our community to reconnect with that legacy of great Albanian American intellectuals like Fannoli, Vaikonica, Konstantin Cekrezi, Costa Dako, or the Chiriazi sisters like Sevasti and Parashkevic Chiriazi. Another thing I want to emphasize about him was that Hidai Edi Brego, he's a personality, was a huge personality, but he was someone who never liked to be in the spotlight. He was one of the most important philanthropists of our community. but he did everything almost invisibly, without boosting. He was a man of deeds and vision and not just words. And who was someone who didn't care only about himself, but he cared also about his community, the future of his fellow Albanians, prioritizing especially education as the main path to knowledge, social mobility, but also self-knowledge. And for me, that's another definition of a person of Albanian excellency. And we must recognize these great personalities of our community. We need to recognize excellency when we find it, because there is there is a lot of excellency among Albanians. So very briefly, let me say what we have done at DePaul University and who we are as a program. When I came here 5 years ago, or 5 years and so a few months ago, I found nothing. As I said, we have, like migrants that build everything from scratch. We had to build everything from scratch. We had to build a curricular program. And our philosophy into approaching this curricular program to create classes that will be attractive to an American university audience under the condition of harsh competitiveness, as you know, because you all have finished American colleges, or you are studying, is that we had to approach the Albanian studies with an open mind. Unfortunately, the Albanian studies have been perceived by others, but also by us, a little bit like an introverted, closed, let's say, a field of studies. While the opposite is true, the Albanian lands have been always a crossroad of cultures and religions that connects Albanians to the larger region and the world. Though Albania remains still little known for the historiography and the history of and the historians, Albanian history radiates outwards in all kinds of directions. And we want to explore, to show Albanians exactly as a geographical and cultural Mediterranean crossroad. Studying the history of Albania and Albanians, it's not that we know only the history of Albania and Albanians, but we can know more about the history of a larger region of Southeastern Europe and the Eastern Mediterranean. Also, to not forget that Albanians have been always great travelers. The traces of our culture and presence can be found even today, from Alexandria in Egypt to Athens in Greece, from Istanbul in Turkey to Buenos Aires and to Chicago. Therefore, our migration history is also very important to our program. And the interest in our classes has grown. You can go also on the DePaul website and explore more about our Albanian and Southeastern European certificate program. And this year we started our classes in Albanian language, which are focused exclusively on a topic connected to Albanian history, culture, and politics, and discussed on an academic level in Albanians. So we have also for you to, and I would like you to be some of our followers. We have a strong platform of public events where we want to stimulate creative discussions and debates on topics connected to Albania and Albanians. We have already invited and featured distinguished artists, researchers, scholars, and even politicians. You can go to the Facebook or Instagram page of our program and check some of these events and follow our future events. Some of them are online. We offer our Hidayah di Bregu Scholarship, awarded to students who excel in Albanian studies already. We have 13 students who are completed the program and the Albanian studies classes, and we want to develop more our community projects, to organize public events and projects with our community. We have a wonderful Albanian American community here in Chicago, and we think that networking is very important. What you do, for example, is networking, and that is a crucial dimension especially for our community that is not very big, but is very passionate. And that's why I appreciate very much what you are doing as an organization, bringing new ways of networking and cooperation. So that's what I had to say, and thank you again very much for giving me this opportunity to speak to your friends and your members. And I hope that one of the important things of networking is following up. So I hope that by networking together, we will brainstorm other ideas to create other spaces of cooperation.
Yeah, Dr. Kapllani, thank you again for sharing your insights and for grounding this conversation in such an honest reflection. We really value your words and you taking the time to join and open up this conversation today. As we transition from your literary lens to a broader community dialogue, we want to open up the webinar with the core question that we have, and Dafina, I want you to introduce that question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kapllani, again. And this brings us into the broader discussion. What is Albanian excellence mean? What is it and what does it mean? From healthcare to youth activism, from academic leadership to cultural advocacy, this conversation that we're going to have hopefully will unpack some of the misconceptions tied to the word excellence, and at the same time making space for these personal stories that show how strength is revealed in the small day-to-day moments. And like Dr. Kapllani mentioned, doesn't have to be anything big and showing off. And I think I'm so glad you brought up Hidayah di Bregu. That's a great example. I didn't know about him, but we're so honored to build off of that with two more individuals who, in our opinion, embodies that with their successes and the goals that they've attained, and different but equally impactful ways.
Yes, and before we transition to our next speakers, I wanted to allow a follow-up opportunity to Dr. Kapllani if we want to ask a question, or allow like a quick follow-up, and then he's going to be free to leave.
Thank you. Faleminderit.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. My first question is actually a question that I really earned to know. How is it? How was your first impact as an immigrant, being isolated for so much time? Your impact, and how did you manage to reach this excellence to nowadays? I mean, how did you manage to embrace the culture that you immersed yourself in, but also to keep your identity? I mean, what is the line to feel yourself, to feel an Albanian, but yet again to immerse in a culture that probably you didn't know that it even exists? Nowadays, it's really easy because you can Google, you can chat GPT everything, but in
Exactly.
1991, when you migrated, that was not possible. I mean, I can only imagine the cultural shock that you went through. And I'm really curious to know what is the right mindset to embrace everything and to reach this excellence that you are nowadays.
Now that's a huge question, and
You
I
know?
believe that everyone who has experienced migration would give maybe a different answers or some similar answers. But that's why I wrote extensively about migration. So I would like to invite you and other people to read my books, but to try to
Sure.
make a very long story short, as I said, the challenge of starting from scratch above all is one of the most difficult. The other thing is to appreciate both the kindness of strangers that I have received and the kindness of my compatriots. But there are many pitfalls in the journey of migration. A little bit, Odysseus is like the symbol of this migrating journey, and you know that Odysseus meets one trap after the other, and he manages, though his journey is not going forward, but going back. But being aware of these traps is very crucial. How to be proactive and creative and not fall into the trap of being always reactive or into the mentality of the victim is very important, I believe. And the role that the Albanian community has played in my life has been and still is huge. To connect to my roots, to my identity, and at the same time to be intellectually curious about everything new that I meet on my road. I think that that's my way of living and of thinking. And regarding the huge importance of the Albanian community, only the fact that I am carrying on the vision of this great personality, Albanian American personality, Daia Di Bregu, to build a program of Albanian studies speaks volumes. I'm also fascinated to explore our history of migrants and travelers. We have, because of the isolation during communism, we lost contact with that very important part of our history and our culture. For example, I'm not only about history, but also about the present. We spoke with Dafina and Ray about how they come from different parts of Albanian lands, and their parents, though they are Albanians, they have never lived together because Dafina's father lived in Kosovo, and Dafina's parents lived in Kosovo, and Ray's parents lived in Albania. It's fascinating to me to see how Albanians, for example, in the United States, who have not lived together in the past, are creating and inventing a new Albanian American identity and community here in the US, and I see it also here in Chicago. So these are some of the topics that we also want to discuss in our program and in our public events, and that's a very partial answer, of course, because that's a huge question, but that's an answer for the time being.
Thank you very much. I mean, I know that this isn't a question that probably gonna need long winter nights, but it's fascinating to me anytime I encounter an Albanian personality that has make a really long road ahead to just to understand, to know how was it, and if you, I mean, I do not to belittle what you've reached, but if you made it, is it possible for any one of us here and now to reach probably not this greatness, but in a certain time to be great as well in our own perception? I mean, it's really fascinating because sometimes we think that living is the only reason, the only way to be excellent in a way. But is it possible to be also excellent staying in your own land?
Exactly. That's why this is one of the reasons why I'm here, because Dafina's vision and Ray's vision and your organization's vision is to connect exactly the young generation of Albanians with the who have left the Albanian lands with the young generation of Albanians who live in Albania or in Kosovo, so or in other parts of the
Yeah.
Balkans. So that's a great vision that as an academic myself, we must support, we must find ways to materialize.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Dr. Kapllani. And I think you both have this is exactly why we wanted to make this webinar. And thank you so much for bringing up, being from Kosovo, my parents didn't have the education, high school or college. And then maybe other people from Albania, they had to leave because of the political persecution. Mine left because of genocide. But we're still coming together to make this identity and to answer this question because it is prevalent. So I don't want to take more of your time, Dr. Kapllani. I do know you have to leave soon, but really having you here is so heart-touching, and really I feel so much of what you're saying. I'm sure everyone does. And thank you so much for giving us your time and energy.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to meet you and to speak to your friends and to your supporters.
Of course. And hopefully it's just the beginning.
Yes, exactly.
So speaking of our next
Your
speaker,
passion.
speaking of our next speaker, it's Eralda herself who has been asking some questions. So she's going to have a lot of interesting things to say, I'm sure you can tell. And so Eralda, she's a healthcare professional with a master's in research and healthcare management. Her journey spans from roles being midwife, a clinical research associate at the Rosenbaum Group, if you're familiar with it, it's a big group, and also being a healthcare manager, as well as an ABA therapist. So big variety of roles that all have a center theme of deep commitment to patient care and leadership. Eralda, we're so excited to hear from you now as a speaker. And I want to hear your thoughts on what Albanian excellence means to you.
Oh, I mean, it's a broad discussion because first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I must I mean, I must admit I had some kind of imposter syndrome because I said, what, wait a moment, because I do not feel excellent. But then again, I thought to myself, yeah, I'm not excellent probably, but I'm gonna share my story. I'm gonna share my experience so I can help probably anyone who thinks or who feels the same way as I, so we can find our way towards excellence. I am a midwife. I am really proud of being a midwife. Our healthcare assistant, this profession has a lot of stigma. Sometimes it's seen of a less as a profession, being a nurse, being a midwife, being a medical assistant. It's seen way less, but honestly, in these years of experience, I've felt and I've understood that we do have a certain importance. Um, but this importance, it's really accentuated being a great team player. If you are a great team player, excellence is really easy to show. What is Albanian excellence? Just not giving up.
Oh,
For a long, long time, I thought that being excellent or being great meant to do several things. I mean, 24 hours were too little. I always complained, I do not have time, I do not have time, I do not have time. That many of my family and friends thought of me as the rabbit from Lisa in Wonderland because I was always running, I was always in a rush, I had always multiple things doing until I stopped myself and I thought, no, I'm not enjoying what I'm doing. I mean, I'm doing two or three jobs in the same time, but yet again, I do not have the time to enjoy what I'm working really hard to achieve. So I think here in Albania, I mean, I believe also you feel the same way because I think it's something cultural that we always think that we are not good enough. We always need to do the next training, to learn a third or a fourth or a fifth language. We always feel the need to look good, not just be good. So I think Albanian excellence is just embracing yourself, understanding what you want, where you want to go, and in which way you have to achieve this achievement, these goals. Sometimes you will fall, but excellent and being a great example means always finding a way to get up and to find a solution and to to find even the joy when you fall. That's it.
Wow. I think my first reaction was just, wow. I don't know if anyone saw my camera. I could never in a million years have thought of that answer. And it's so simple and to the point. And I wish I had someone like you, an Albanian woman role model, living in Albania, working, to have told me things like that when I was growing up. Even though I was in America, you know, it hits so differently, like makes me want to tear up. But thank you so much for sharing that. And that's exactly like, I'm so happy you're here and sharing this. I think so many of us need to hear this, no matter where we are in our journey. And I would love to ask you, you know, you have such a diverse background. And like you said, maybe some people they have misconceptions towards being a midwife, which is crazy because now a lot of people in America are moving away from doctors and hospitals from giving birth and are doing at-home births, water births, and they want to have a doma, they want to have a midwife. So when you have these roles and now you're a clinical research associate, how have your Albanian like cultural values, have they shaped your approach to how you take care of patients and being a part of management and
Yes.
healthcare when, and you said yourself, the healthcare in Albania is a little bit complicated.
Yeah, we are in a ambiguous situation. We're in a really, let's say, delicate situation because when I started this diverse and doing multiple things and trying to shape my persona on a professional level,
Yeah.
it was really hard finding, let's say, a job. I mean, being a midwife, I worked as a volunteer. I remember working as a volunteer in the hospital for about 6 to 8 months. I mean, I was not getting paid because
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to be appreciated. I wanted to be connected with what I studied for. But it was so hard because there were two spots with different applicants. We were minimum 40 applicants for two spots. So it was really, really harsh
Right.
finding a spot, finding a job. But then again, right now we have a lot of free spots because everyone is migrating. It is sad because hearing from Dr. Kapllani, I mean, it's the same experience. Right now,
Mm,
let's say all of my peers, all of my friends are all over the world. Sometimes I joke that I am the only left, the last of the Mohicans, the Albanian Mohicans. I'm here.
yeah. Yeah.
And the doctors do not have the time sometimes to attend all their patients. So naturally, when attending a patient and feeling that you don't know something or you don't know, you lack a certain knowledge, you go and search because as Albanian, you always need to feel like you are 100% there for the patients. You need to feel like you will save their lives. Whatever it happens, you might be alone, you might be in a critical situation that you probably have only 60 seconds time to save not just the woman but also the tiny baby. I mean, you as a midwife, you are responsible for two lives, not to
Mm,
mention the third life, the father waiting for their family to be complete outside. And in Albanian culture, the grandmas, the aunties, the uncles, everyone waiting for the newborn there. So there's always this care. I have always been passionate and care to change also the stigma that we have
mm,
nowadays for Albanian healthcare workers, because most of the time we are associated with hard and cold-hearted professionals that do not care about patients. Meanwhile,
yeah.
in my experience, I have assisted a lot of doctors, midwives, healthcare assistants that really do care about the patients, but it is the system that does not allow them to improve the service, their health, and they're all about
Mm,
on how to be healthy. Um, that's why I have always chosen let's say trainings that would improve. That's why I went to ABA therapist, because that made me understand their behaviors without them needing to say what they are speaking. it is a lot about body language, but you also learn how to reach out to them, how to make things simpler for them, because it is this perception that ABA therapy helps only the, let's say, the category with autism's done, or let's say the neurodivergence. But honestly, it helps a lot also with patient care. Also, we in Albania have a lot of lacks on traumas. I had
Mm.
to assist a delivery in an ambulance, and everyone went in panic. And I said, God, Eralda, you need a trauma advanced training, because this is proper trauma for everyone. So I mean, that's what I was talking about challenges. When you are in front of a challenge and you feel like you cannot reach, or you cannot accomplish this achievement, it's not only beating yourself up that you cannot do this. It's understanding why you cannot do this and how to improve for the next time. So that's why I have this background on everything, because it comes from the fact that we as Albanians feel like we are not good enough. We are never good enough. We always need more and more and more and more training. Next step is being a deputy here in Albania. And it's always trying to learn and to improve yourself. I think this is also embodies excellence. I am very happy that I'm part of this, because I got the chance to also learn something from you. I mean, doing, you say, you act, you close the deal. I mean, it's fascinating to me.
Yeah, I think Eralda, like that when we first were thinking about speakers for this webinar, like you have such a unique story to tell, and like I
Mhm.
really feel that for our audience or like students right now who are in college, they're thinking about like careers, for example, in healthcare in the US, like they need to understand the broader dynamic of what it means to be a team player as well. Like medicine is not simply
Yes.
like the physician, but it also like you have a team with you. And I think like a lot of people who are pre-med specifically, they need to understand that, like as a message that medicine is not, you can be successful in many ways. Like excellence is multidimensional. And we're gonna
Yeah.
have a chance.
Mm.
No, yeah, yeah. I totally
Yeah,
agree with that. Yeah.
yeah, and we're gonna have a chance to, come back and ask a few more questions. But for interest of time, I want to transition and spotlight one of our youngest voices in our community. He's truly doing incredible work. As an organization here at SAPS, we believe really in the power and premise of our youth. That's like a core principle that we have as an organization. And to me, that belief was really affirmed when I had a chance to connect with Kevin. Kevin is a brilliant and driven young Albanian whose commitment to community is very evident from the work that he's done in the community. Kevin, he's a junior at Regis High School, and he's the director of outreach for Young Minds Matter. He's also the founder of Albanian Tutors, which is a nonprofit organization that tutors middle schoolers. At just 16, he's already shaping important conversations centered around youth and empowerment, and it's really like an honor to have him here to talk to us. He hopes to pursue careers in international affairs, and he aims to bridge cultural gaps and also promote global understanding of international relations. We're going to come together as a team after Kevin has a chance to discuss. But Kevin, we're very thrilled to have you today, and I want to allow the room for you to say a few opening remarks, and in your vision or in your eyes, explain to us or describe what do you think excellence means.
Yeah, so when it comes to excellence, I think that first we should look into everyone's past and everyone, especially Albanian backgrounds. I think the excellence is best defined through resilience. I think as Doctor spoke before, every single Albanian came from such different backgrounds, but it all was common theme of resilience. Whether it be through making sure that their children come to America and then get a proper education, even after facing such oppression in Albania through communism, or through even more recent struggles in Kosovo. I think every single Albanian has a common excellence through resilience. For example, like my family, my mom, my dad, both of them never had a proper education. My father instilled in me of the importance of education, just like education as like a lifeline for success, for future generations, for everything. Same thing with my mother. My mother wasn't able to finish elementary school. She never was even able to go to sixth grade, like just because of the political situation in Albania. And then same thing with her. She came to America and she instilled in me a mindset of the importance of education. And then ever since then, I think just been skyrocketing of ideas when it comes to me about why is education so important. And I think that, as Doctor mentioned before, because you get knowledge about yourself, you get knowledge about the world, but you also get experience and you also get an insight as to how the world works. And so I think education and youth empowerment is important, and is also a key highlight of Albanian Excellence. I think me personally, I really try to work with the middle school kids, whether it be through Young Minds Matter or now soon to be Albanian tutors. I try to work with middle school because I think middle school is where education is really made or broken. High school, a lot of times, your life in terms of academics is already decided by the time you're in high school. If you didn't show as much dedication to education in middle school, it's really hard to come back from that. And so I try to work with middle school students and make sure that they get the proper resources they deserve. And I think that's another key part of Albanian Excellence, is making sure that you use the opportunities given to you to help others to get their own opportunities. So when I was a middle school student, I was blessed to be a part of the REACH program, which is a Catholic program that helped me to put me where I am today. It put me into a nice Catholic high school. It helped me with resources throughout the summer. And so I just try to mimic that as much as I can. A lot of kids are in the same situation that I was, growing up without with parents who weren't as educated as others, parents who didn't have as much wealth as others. And so I try to use that as a motivation to try and give back to people I relate with. So I come to church every Sunday and I see students who have the same exact background as I do. So they have parents who came from Albania, communists, and they struggled there with a lack of education, came here, and they're trying their best to get ahead in life and get to the level of their peers whose parents might have attended Columbia University or who are professors at some certain universities. And so I think it's my obligation to try and give those students the same resources I had growing up, and really try and ensure that they are given the chance to prosper in life. I think every single child deserves it. Also, education is a human right, and so I think that it's not just that it's important that every single child has education, but I think it's an obligation that everyone has to ensure that. So I think that that's where I think Albanian excellence lies, is in education and resilience.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point, but I wanted to ask you just a quick follow-up. When it comes to, you're just 16, so when it comes to balancing, academic responsibilities as well as leadership responsibilities, such as your role at Young Minds Matter or your newly founded organization, what do you think are some of the challenges that you've encountered, and how can the Albanian community better support leaders like yourself? I know we at SAPS, we try to do mentorship, which we believe like has a really powerful reach. But what are some ways that the community can better support students, in your opinion? Because you come from a different perspective in this conversation.
Yeah, so when it comes to challenges, I mean, time management is really hard. Balancing, doing well in school, and then why Young Minds Matter, Albanian Tutors, and a bunch of other things I'm doing. It gets hard. I mean, there's no even I tend to think that I'm well organized. I think I have good organizational skills, but even then, it's hard just to make sure that every single period of the day, sometimes some random event happens, whether it be a phone call for a meeting, or you have to set up a Google Sheets or something. Like, not everything can be scheduled, so there's a challenge in trying to make sure that I get everything into a day as organized and as neatly as possible, while also making sure my health is doing well and all that stuff. And then also sometimes it's trying to find out where my priorities lie. So, for example, as mentioned before, time management. When I'm in the middle of a school day and I have it free, do I want to dedicate that 20 minutes to studying for a math quiz I have coming up, or to making sure that the program Young Minds Matter is running smoothly that evening? And so I think that a lot of times it's myself versus others, and I tend to, or at least I try to put the others above myself, just because I realize how important the situation they're in is. I mean, I'm already in high school. Although I may seem very young to you guys, I feel like my life, especially academically, I've passed the threshold of whether I can succeed or not. I think I'm my life now. I think I'm fully, at least I really want to make sure that my life it heads towards the direction of youth empowerment and advocacy. So I tend to put others above myself. But I think, yeah, just time management and really setting straight my priorities. But when in terms of how others can help me and how the Albanian community can help me, is really just through giving me a voice, like things like this, like speaking this panel. I think a lot of times, especially when I tell people, "Hey, I'm 16 years old," they just neglect me sometimes, and they say, "What does he know?" But I think my experiences and the experience of a lot of my peers who have similar stories to me, they're valuable. Every single voice is valuable. And so I think that just giving us a voice and a platform to really do what we think is necessary and to help us in those missions. I'm thankful for the church who lets me basically do anything I think is necessary when it comes to the organization, has like empowered the organization, Albanian Tutors, and has really given it a voice in the church. And I'm thankful for Shoqata SAPS, who has done the same thing with a bunch of other high schoolers as well. So I think that's the main point of how can the Albanian community help me, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Eralda, as well. For
Thank
sharing your
you.
experiences. I was smiling a little bit because you mentioned, Kevin, that at 16 you think your life is set, and I'm reminiscing because I went to like a medical school like second look event, and there's people there who are 40 who have a career change. Like they were they were in journalism for 15 years and now they're doing medicine. So it's always
Right.
like interesting that we think that when we're in middle school we think like that's super important, and we get in high school and we think that's like life defining, and then when you go to college and then as you go up in your career, like an advice that I want to share with you and everyone who's listening is that like life will play different cards, right? And then you'll never have the perfect cards that are presented, but something that all of us as Albanians share is this persistence, this do not give up attitude, and we use everything in our ability to make a better life. Like Dr. Kapllani said, if you look at the history of Albanians, especially in the US, it's a story of people who are builders, like we're building things for ourselves. And that's kind of like almost like a microcosm of that reality is what our organization is trying to do, like where we promote that you can be excellent, you can achieve things even
Yes.
if you're not played the proper cards. So at SAPS, we believe that these conversations are not just a one-time conversation, but they need to be a continuum. That's why we wanna allow like an opportunity for back and forth and a few questions from our members here that are with us, whether it is the thought that was sparked by what Eralda mentioned or something that Dr. Kapllani or Kevin shared. We invite everyone who wants to participate in this dialogue for the next 10 minutes or so to either raise your hand through one of the ways in the chat or write a question. We'll spend 10 minutes to ask a few more follow-ups for Kevin, Eralda, or anyone who's in this call.
Well, I had a few questions as a
Okay.
moderator.
I know people have
Um,
questions.
yeah, and I think as we open up the dialogue, I can be the icebreaker a little bit here. Um, I think just starting off with even what Eralda and Kevin were saying, like Eralda was feeling a little bit like, you were feeling like you were like an imposter syndrome, which I've definitely suffered from that too. And Kevin, you saying, people just see you as this high schooler, which we see you as so much more and we value you as so much more than just a high schooler. But what, I guess for both of you guys, like what helps you overcome and not give up and have this resilience? Is there one specific thing that keeps you guys pushing and striving and having that ambition? Some people, they don't have a strong ambition or like a desire for more, but what would you say that is for you? Like any situation, whether you're in an ambulance truck, and trying to have a baby come into this world, or whether You know, you're trying to decide, okay, do I focus on myself and my test scores, or do I help the organization and the kids who need me to get through middle school, which is horribly chaotic. I'm so glad you brought that up too. What does that think for you guys?
So I think that when it comes to my situation, I think my main motivation is found through the story of my parents, as I mentioned before, that they didn't come to this country for nothing. I'm not, I'm like, my whole plan is to make sure that they not only are proud of me, but that their whole journey and their whole life story is, it has purpose at the end of the day. And I think that they've made it known that their main purpose and their main focus in life is me and my sister. And so I wouldn't want to disappoint them. That's one key part of my motivation. Another part is just a sense of an obligation. I think that, you know, what I'm doing in helping all these children, at least trying to, is I think it has no room for, you know, maybe sometimes, or, you know, let me try again. It's like it's so crucial because you're like, I'm dealing with basically the educational careers of all these children, and they trust me with ensuring that they get the resources that they need. And so I take that very I don't take that lightly. I think I whether or not it's the good or bad pressure, I put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure that I give them the best quality resources that are available. And so I think that's a part of my resilience, is my sense of obligation to those children. Because like I said before, I always give that help, so I feel like I'm obligated to give it to someone else. But yeah, I think if I want like some Catholic aspects, as in now I'm in a church, but like from I feel like an obligation from God as well to do that service. I've been going to Catholic school my whole life, and the main theme of servant to your community has been pushed onto me since I was a little kid, and I'm 100% sure it's the same thing in Islam and Judaism and every other religion. You know, serving your community. And so I think like several different themes are motivating me to be resilient. But I think, yeah, a common theme of just helping others, I think.
Wow, Kevin. I mean, you have my total respect. I mean, not just as a person, but also as a parent. I have two daughters, and there have been a lot of times where I just said, "Ah, I can't. I mean, I'm gonna give up. This is too much. I mean, I do not deserve all this stress, all this pressure." But then again, once I had my daughters, I thought, do I want to leave my daughters in this horrible world? I mean, do I want to leave them alone with no with no good example? Because I mean, as a woman, many Albanian thinks that once you get married, your life just gets over. Everything gets, you're just gonna produce your babies and that's it. But I wanted more for my daughters. I mean, I wanted to give an example that even when you reach at a certain point, or even when you think that you are at the lowest, you still can make it gracefully. Sometimes not so gracefully, but still you can find your path. I really do share the same opinion as Kevin. We are very religious. I mean, I always believe that if you set your goals and if you set your things straight without doing harm to no one, I mean, willingly doing harm to no one, you will always find a way. It's so easy to give up, but it's more easy to not give up. You just simply have to set your things straight. You just have to think, what do you want to do? I mean, I read a story and I see a lot of the same mindset to my daughters, because sometimes when you're a little kid, things seem much more easy, and when you grow up, things get more and more and more and more and more complicated. But sometimes you have to turn back in the little kid's perspective and think that it's not so hard, you know? When, I mean, I read a story online, I don't remember whether Instagram or Facebook, where a mother was talking with her daughter, and her daughter said, "Mom, I want to be an astronaut." And her mom said, "Yeah, but it's not so easy, you know." And her mother said, her daughter said, "What does it take to be an astronaut?" And her mother said, "You have to finish high school, you have to finish college, then university." And the daughter said, "Oh, just three things then. It's doable." And sometimes you just need to think on this perspective that sometimes things are not so complicated that they seem. You just have to understand and see them, be a drone and see things from up far, and understand where this complication, I mean, I don't know the right term in English, pardon my language, but where this mess comes from. Because once you understand where the mess comes from, this is also from a healthcare professionist. I mean, you do not have to treat the symptoms, you have to treat the cause of the symptoms. Once you find the cause, the symptoms are so easy to be treated.
Totally. Even in engineering, and you have to treat the root cause. It's crazy. It's a lot of interdisciplinary connections. And what you're saying too, what you both were saying about faith, like I'm a Muslim and I 100% like same God. God gives us these abilities, these talents, these privileges. It's almost like an obligation to give back and try to make the world a better place because we're blessed with these things. And I do see a hand raised. I want to call on Clea, like to ask a question.
Yes, Kevin, Eralda, and Dr. Kapllani, thank you so much for your insights and for your experiences that you've discussed. I have a question that's geared towards our community. What advice would you give to young Albanian Americans who feel pressure to follow traditional success paths, but they're looking to, I guess, define their own version of Albanian excellence?
Do not follow patterns. You decide your own excellence. We get so pressure about everything. We are pressured about everything. Sometimes we have the generational pressure. But one thing that my father said, I mean, I'm really lucky. I must admit, I'm really lucky. I have two wonderful parents that have helped me a lot and are helping me a lot to create myself and to create a lot of new opportunities about myself and my daughters. But what my father said, it struck me because he said, when I was your age, what my father told to me was simply old fashioned and simply out of the world. Now, what you are explaining to me, it seems strange to me, but I have faith in you because I know what I did to to give a great education to you. So I'm going to give you the space to simply do what you want to do. And I think I'm going to have the same discussion with my daughters because I know that probably after 10 or 15 years, they're going to share some weird stories. I mean, what I found weird and that time. But still, I'm going to leave the space to them to be them themselves. The only way to learn is to do mistakes, because if you do not do mistakes, this means you are doing nothing. I mean, it's totally normal to try a way, to try a path, and if this path does not accomplish you and you do not feel accomplished, it's okay. You're gonna find another path. I mean, patterns should not be followed unless you want to go to that direction, but still you have to remember that if you go to that path, it is you. If you want to be Eralda, you have to remember that you are Clea. Probably you want to reach the same thing that I reached, but you have your own way because you are your own persona. Genetically, we are all different. I mean, I have two daughters. I gave birth to them. I created them, and they are very different from one another, you know? So you you just have to be easy on yourself sometimes, because being easy on yourself gives a lot of improvement and a lot of clarity at the end of the day.
I really love that. And a big part of becoming excellent, you're gonna fail. And like you said, it's a part of making mistakes and learning from them. And then the next generation, having them not repeat it so they can be even more excellent than us. I mean, that's the goal. Love that. Do you have anything else to add or?
I think we have another question in the chat. We can go through that real quick. And then whoever is here who wants to participate, I know Rhea, we've had a chance to connect in the past, and Adem as well, we had a chance to connect. If you could want to share a few thoughts as well, more than welcome. But Clea, if you can read the question on the chat that someone left.
Yes. So Aaron said, many talented students in Albania and Kosovo don't have access to the same opportunities we've had abroad. At SAPS, we're working to bridge that gap through mentorship and academic support. But from your perspective, what more can we do as a global Albanian community to empower these students and truly cultivate Albanian success on a broader scale?
Oh, that's true, and that's really nice. I mean, I'm an Albanian student. I feel like I'm an Albanian student right now. I would have loved to have a lot of opportunities. The fact that you were able to reach Dr. Kapllani, you cannot imagine. I mean, it's like a dream to us, a lot of Albanian students. What can we do to empower them? Well, really networking with them. This webinar, this new, adventure that we're going on, I dare to call it adventure. I think it will give an opportunity to them, showing how they can reach to you, how I can reach to you, how can we improve, or how you want to reach to us. Because in a certain way we can empower one another, and we can improve both perspectives, your perspective and our perspective. The fact that we are using the technology to be so reachable, had someone done this question to me 10 years ago, I would just have thought that it's a sci-fi movie. The fact that now I'm talking with an American audience, it's mind-blowing. I feel old, honestly, telling that because I feel like I'm still in a communist country. But honestly, talking with Albanian American students who have reached so much that you have reached, you have all followed very, very, very notorious universities. We have Kevin that is empowering middle schooler and high schoolers on how to be excellent, even though they have, let's say, not so favorable situation, and not so much not so many people where they can rely on. I think this is great. Probably more connection, because right now Albanian and not, I don't like to say Kosovars, but we are all Albanians. We are using a lot of Instagram, TikTok, and I think we can reach one another through these platforms. But creating this webinar, I think it's the first step to reach into one
Yeah,
another. This is my
I
perspective.
I agree with you. And then, Eralda, like one thing that we want to make sure that viewers, because this will go live and a lot of people will have a chance to listen to this after we're done, is that we really believe that this conversation, they can't just be a one-time event. They need to be consistent and they need to be a series. That's why we are launching like a webinar series. And over the next 6 months, we will be hosting webinars that spotlight or highlight unique themes and emerging voices across various fields. So each session that we do will be designed to spark not only dialogue, but also to challenge assumptions and celebrate the many paths that we have taken as people to shape the world around us. And we have some of our upcoming webinars here that I want Dafina to give a chance to whoever is listening to so they're aware.
Yes, the webinar team has been cooking, to say the least. We have some amazing webinars coming up. Mark your calendars for April 26th, Women in Leadership, Making Your Mark. And we're gonna have some pretty amazing Albanian women on there. You may know some of them, but definitely April 26th, mark your calendar, and next webinar coming up. We also have May 17th. That's going to be contributing to open source software. If you're more on the technology side, looking more for webinars relating to that, we have that one on May 17th. And then the third one we have coming up is May 31st. Insights into the dental profession, career paths, challenges, and success strategies. A lot of people, I know a lot of Albanian community, they're in dentistry or careers relating to that, or maybe they want to explore more of that. May 31st, that's the webinar for you. We have so much more coming up after that, but those are just the first three that we're going to be following up immediately after this webinar. So definitely keep that in your calendar. It's an ongoing series, so we're excited to present these to you. And shout out to Ademe, who's doing the open source one. Clea's helping out with the women in leadership one. We have all the other webinar leads are going to have their own turn and do webinars based on what they're focused in. So every topic that, we could do, we're going to do.
And just to add, like a clarification, it is Albanian women in leadership. So it is,
Yes.
it does have Albanian theme. And then this is another call to action to everyone who's listening who didn't have a chance to attend live. But we want to continue this journey that we're taking. And like Eralda mentioned, she put it very beautifully. This is an adventure. So we want people to not only be attenders, but also collaborators, speakers, mentors, supporters. So every time that we come together in sessions like this, we don't just share stories, but we help share futures as well. And then I want to also discuss a little bit about the idea of mentoring before we wrap up today's webinar. I want to leave with a reminder that mentorship really does change lives. Mentorship is a core principle of our organization. Sometimes we tend to think as people that mentorship is formal, is structured, it's a scheduled meeting, someone reviews your resume, or someone gives you like a roadmap to your career. But I want listeners and whoever is part of our community to understand that oftentimes it's the small, unexpected moments that leave the biggest impact. And I want to share a quick story with everyone who's here and who's listening. I remember a few months ago, one of our mentors shared how their mentee, someone still in high school, had asked them a question during their one-on-one meetings. And the question was, do you really think someone like me could get into a school like that? That's a question that a lot of high schoolers, as I know Kevin is in high school, it's a question that they struggle with. And the mentor, like when we discussed with them, they shared that that brought them to a pause, not because they didn't have an answer, but because they brought them back to their teenage self, when they were at a kitchen table and looking at a college brochure and wondering the same exact thing. And I think something that's powerful about our organization is that most of us are first generation immigrants who have come in the US and we've gone through the struggle alone. But the moments like that allow us to understand that it's not just about your GPA. It's not about your application. Sometimes it's all about belief. It's about being seen, and it's about being someone, being there for someone, and being someone's mirror for them to recognize their own potential. So that's what mentorship is to us. We believe it's really about planting seeds. It's about, doesn't always require perfection, but it does require presence and you being there for people. So as we close, I really, this is a call for action, and I encourage people who are listening, who are part of our community, I encourage them to be a mentor, to be a connector, and to be the reason that someone says that was the moment that my life changed. And I think this really speaks volumes, especially for people who are in Albania in the diaspora. And I know that's one of our missions that we're trying to do is people who are from Albania and Kosovo, they see things as very difficult to achieve, not because they don't have the skills or the smarts, but sometimes they don't have someone who's there for them to tell them that yes, they can do all those things. And I think that one of the messages that we want to share as part of this webinar series is to let people know that they're capable, and we want to give them a chance to connect. Like Eralda mentioned, students in Albania, they think it's impossible to connect with people who are accomplished like Dr. Kapllani, Eralda, or Kevin. And throughout this webinar series, we're going to make sure to bring guests who are really successful in their fields and allow people to grow their networks, especially people from the diaspora, Albania, Kosovo, Italy. We have Albanians everywhere in the world. And I want to give the floor to Dafina as well. She will share a few remarks as well.
Yeah, to wrap up and building off of what Ray said about staying connected and continuing this, a conversation is ongoing, not just a one-time webinar. How to keep up with us, there's 4 ways. You have Instagram, our SAPS, LinkedIn. We have our website, which is constantly updated, has beyond more information and updated events on what's coming up and what we're planning to do, so you can stay ahead of the loop. We also have a group me where you can meet the rest of the community and have conversations there. They have a lot of fun stuff going on there. I've seen some GIFs, some memes, Albanian memes specifically that crack me up. And first of all, if you want to see a webinar, if you have something really specific you want us to cover, fill out the form on the left-hand side, and we take these responses into serious consideration. For example, the next webinar we have coming up, that was actually a response on the form that somebody wanted to see Albanian women in leadership. So the next webinar could be because of you and what you want covered, and you can inspire a big dialogue and conversation that will push our community forward. So make sure to fill out the form. If you really want us to continue talking about something specific in our community, we will consider it. And in general, if you like SAPS, if you're not already a part of SAPS, fill out the form to the right to join the community. You'll get linked in with the newsletter. You will be able to join more of the groups, know what's going on more, and you can be able to have closer relations to us. And we would love to get to know you better and keep in touch, because the whole point of networking and the whole point of this is to stay connected constantly and to grow those connections authentically through these initiatives. So thank you all so much for being here if you did join, and for just taking the time to be here with us, talk with us. And we are so excited to see you at the next webinar on April 26th. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the conversation on Albanian excellence.
Thank you, guys. Keep being excellent, keep being amazing, and above all, keep being Albanian, because I think that's what makes us all excellent. But if you want to stay up to date outside of the webinar, I encourage everyone to visit our website and sign up to become a recipient of our newsletters. We also will be posting the full recording of this webinar on YouTube. This series, like I mentioned in the beginning, is something that we're very passionate about. So if you want to partner with us in any way, if you're a guest speaker who wants to share your story, feel free to reach out to us through either social media platform or directly via email that you can locate at our website. Otherwise, I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. It was the first conversation. I know some of us were a little anxious, but I want to reiterate that I couldn't find any more guests that would fit this webinar better than the ones that we invited. Dr.
Yes.
Kapllani's amazing work at DePaul University with his Albanian program, Kevin, who is an example of like what youth and perseverance has to offer to our community, and then Eralda, who's really someone who has redefined excellence in all meaning of the world. Eralda is someone who I think everyone in Albania should take as an example, because she's shown that the cards that you're dealt do not define how successful you are or how much you can achieve. And I think that's something that a lot of students, especially in college, need to understand. And I hope that this is not just a one-time appearance to anyone here. I hope to see you in the future webinars, and stay blessed, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
inviting me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Kevin and
Thank you for
Errol.
being